Hey everybody, and welcome to Epic Everyday, our weekday podcast for busy, stressed out Christians who don't want to just get through the day and survive, who want to really thrive, have zest and fun in their lives.
Have epic days every day.
I'm Liz Ferks, and this is my husband Evan.
Hey there, good morning.
We're so glad you guys are here with us today.
Yeah, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Opportunity Day is so far behind us, but we got another one in a couple days.
And we have the weekend.
That's right.
Lots of stuff you can get done on the weekend.
Or you could take a breath and have your Sabbath.
This is true. Sabbath is a great way to round out the week.
Yeah.
Just a real quick note, our paid class, Setting Up Your Year for Success 2018, Going Deeper. Today's the last day to register. Yeah. So if you want to learn how to do tapping, we're going to have sessions with people, how to do tapping, how to do a Sabbath, and kind of the why behind a Sabbath, and just some of the things that have helped us with our Sabbath keeping. And then also have somebody go through goals and mission and values and all that kind of stuff with you. Today's the last day.
Yeah.
At least if you want us to be the people to do that with.
Yeah, maybe somebody else has a class. But yeah, order our webpage, epiceverydaynow.com. Click on the classes in the menu there and sign up for a class if that sounds interesting to you. We can really make 2018 this turning point year for your life.
Ever.
I mean, these are things that have really turned our life around, and we keep growing deeper in them. It has everything to do with the CSCs and our spiritual life, and we want to pass it on.
This week we have been talking about simplicity, i.e. not overcomplicating things.
Yeah.
And today, since it's Friday and we work our way through the CSCs, we are going to talk about being complete.
And this, I think, has to do with our self-examine life technique. This is so important. We've talked about it a lot. We talked about it in depth in our free class, and that's on our webpage too. But just how we need to be examining our life. We need to know what's going on in our hearts, in the world around us, and that's how we be complete. But this process, I think, sometimes seems like a full-time job or a really overwhelming thing. It's like, what do you mean I got to take a personal inventory? And, it can be a lot, especially if you've never done it before. But
Right.
It can be, and it should be, simple enough to just kind of be this program that runs in the background. And it kind of takes in information and is there when you need it. And it becomes a way of life.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, at the beginning of the year, I set up my goals and I broke them up into 3-month goals, which was really easy once I had the year-long goals. And then now every 2 weeks, I look at my 3-month goals and go, well, where should I be in 2 weeks? And I keep that on a sticky note.
Sure.
It takes me like 10 minutes to write out.
Yeah.
Probably less than that, actually, to write my sticky note out. And then, I look at it every day and it reminds me to keep moving forward in my goals.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be difficult.
Right. And someone like me, I look at that and I'm like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't do that, but I'm still intentional. I'm more verbally intentional, like with my accountability group and with you, and just, I kind of verbally process things throughout the day, and I try to keep tabs on what's going on, and it's kind of the way I've customized it and I'm always looking for ways to be more intentional and to be more examined. I think the point is that we don't want to be like, you know what I ought to do, and buy into some system, and then lock yourself in and feel trapped at some point because...
Right, because if you feel trapped, you're going to hate it.
Yeah.
And then you're never going to do it.
Right. Yeah. And that means it's not simple enough. It feels like it's bogging you down instead of lifting you up.
We talked about the Pharisees earlier this week and how they complicated everything. There are many rules about what constituted work on the Sabbath and what didn't constitute work. And
nobody could... I don't know how you'd remember all that stuff.
Right.
I guess since the whole culture is trying to do it together. But
you have
still,
people reminding you all the
I
time.
can't imagine anybody truly keeping the Sabbath because of all those rules.
Right. Well, and you lose the spirit of the thing in the midst of all the nitpickiness. And I think sometimes we do that with our systems. We make them so complicated. And sometimes that's intentional.
Sure.
Because we don't want to do whatever it is in the first place. So we just create this super complicated system. Or it's because we're hoping our super complicated system will do the thing for us.
Or whip us into shape. Or we set a goal that's, some people, I think it takes practice too. Like the goal might be, I'm going to read the Bible in a year, every year for the rest of my life. And I think you might get to a point where you do that, because I know people who do that. But the first year you might not make it. But you got to not judge yourself too harshly.
Yeah.
And if that's really a goal you want to do, you can work up to it. And maybe in 5 years, you will be reading the Bible every year. And then you can do that until you're 105. And it'll be awesome. That's part of the system, is like, part of it is going to be goals that actually make sense for you right now.
And that's SMART goals. You want them to be realistic.
Yeah. And a good system is going to be able to grow with you. Like, you're not going to be, like, if it feels like, oh, this is too, like, baby food, milk level of growth, that doesn't mean that's what you're locked into that either. The system grows. We just don't want to get bogged down in stuff that's too complicated for right now,
or have our too complicated thing do the thing for us. Like I said, sometimes I think we make a system that's so complicated because we're hoping that will take away the need for action, but it doesn't. You can write the most amazing to-do list, but if you don't actually do everything on the to-do list, or do the correct amount of things, you don't necessarily have to do everything on your to-do list, but do the right amount of things on your to-do list, then you're still not doing your to-do list.
Right.
Or regardless of how beautifully it's written.
Yeah. And if on your to-do list is things like breathe in and out and make sure my heart's beating, it's like you're just getting so into the weeds.
Right.
It's going to take more work to check off every single heartbeat in a day than it is to actually, that's not productive work.
Right.
What about getting bogged down in the past and the future and ways to deal with that? There's systems there that this is going to fit into that too. We don't want to get swept away.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think what you were talking about with goals just hits the nail on the head, because sometimes we make a goal that's not practical until the future, or a goal that's based on something in the past that's no longer applicable. Like the milk, feeding yourself baby milk when you're able to take in meat.
That could have
and
to
you're
do
just
with,
like, well, I always did it this way. I'm going to keep doing it this way.
Or it could be, based on fear and trauma. Like you could have your a goal you're always going to achieve, but you set it for yourself anyway, and it takes up room on your goal list. Like, I'm going to, get dressed every day. I don't know. It's like, okay. But they need to be goals that push us just the right amount to move forward.
Right.
We don't want to
They need to be just a little risky. They can't be goals that keep us complacent. Because if we stay in the same place we are today, we'll be in the same place we are today next year.
Yeah. Just have another 2017 all over again.
Right. And who wants to do that? I mean, unless 2017 was amazing.
Yeah. But if it was a growth year and then you go back to the beginning. Well, anyway. Yeah. So maybe some practical stuff?
I think one thing is really taking an inventory of where you are before you put your system in place, and being willing to flex.
Yeah.
Like, I see that a lot. Maybe it's just being in the natural health world with my autoimmune disease, but I see a lot of the time where people will find this one specific therapy that helped them so much, and they jump on board, tell everybody that's exactly what they need to do, and it may not be the right thing for somebody else, or it might not be the right time,
Right. And even them, like maybe if they're cutting gluten, I mean, maybe that's great for now and it helps them heal in a certain way, but that may not be the best thing for their whole entire life, for the rest of their life.
Right. It depends on the person, because some people are practically deadly allergic to gluten.
Right.
And the same thing about having a vegan diet. That can be really helpful if you have high levels of toxicity and you're trying to lower inflammation. But then if you stay on a vegan diet for too long, you actually lose brain mass. Yeah. And there's some pretty significant side effects to that. So these things are all tools that we use at the right time. And then we flex as our situation changes. We don't have to stay stuck in, this is the exact system I'm going to use, and I'm always going to use it.
Yeah. And I think, what I said at the beginning, like if our self-examination kind of information gathering process is running, that's how we know when it might be time to shift gears. Right. It's like, oh, I did this and it was really helpful, but I feel like now I need to, reincorporate meat into my diet or whatever it is. We're not going to know that unless we have this self-examination process going all the time.
Right.
And again, it's not that doesn't need to be an overwhelming thing. It's just, a responsible adult Christian life, taking my faith seriously kind of thing.
Right. Which is one of the reasons we love the CSC so much, because it takes, less than 2 minutes to ask yourself, am I calm? Am I surrendered? Am I centered? Am I connected? Am I complete? And it's easy enough to remember and run throughout your day and to start paying attention to those things. Because once you do run through it regularly, it takes time, but like anything, baby steps,
you build it into your routine, like brushing your teeth,
Right. Well, and you have, like, for me at least, it's such a background thing that, it's only when I do something that kind of feels a little bit off, and then I go, why does this feel off? Why am I upset right now? Or grabbing a task that is not necessarily centered for me, that isn't something that's best for me to be doing. There's kind of a discomfort that comes from it because I'm so used to being like, doing the things that I'm passionate about and that make me feel most myself. And so, when I grab something that's not, it's like putting on a shirt or something that doesn't quite fit. And you're like, something's wrong about this.
And I think that's that system. Yeah, it's your program's running to kind of examine what's going on. And then there's some triggers there of like, well, I need to look at this a little more closely. Right. Why didn't this work? I think some of the practical things for me, just as like I said, I'm a little bit more verbal and kind of interactive about this, but being in a support system of some kind, it has to do with people, accountability network, and then with people that understand my principles and my goals, and then personally, like for me, when I start to to say with my network, I'm struggling with this thing, it's really stressing me out, and here's why, and I can start to map it out. And then I always circle back around to, but you know what? When I started out, that's not really true. And I'm reminding myself, and the group is part of that. Or we remind each other. Like I might not see it. And then one of my friends is like, hey, wait a minute. You said this thing a month ago. And isn't that more true than the thing you just talked about now? And that's an important part of this system. It's not just all happening in my mind. It's happening in this group. And we're helping each other push on and grow.
I love the synergy that comes from being involved with other people and having somebody that you can talk to regularly. Yeah. That's one of the reasons we use Voxer all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it doesn't have to be 50 people. I don't think that would even work.
No.
I mean, you can do it with your spouse. We want to have as many close friendships as we can, but I think in reality, a handful maybe. Hopefully we can get better and better at it, but it doesn't have to be this big giant thing. It's a fairly simple process. We just got to do it.
All right. Well, hopefully that gives us all something to think about. If you are being too complicated with your self-examination process, it will feel like a huge burden. And if it can't flex with your life circumstances.
Because you're not living a static life.
Exactly.
A year from now, life could be a lot different, and you want to have a system that works with that.
We love you guys, and we're praying for you. Thanks to everybody that's been sharing the show and listening to the show. We really appreciate it. If you have found this podcast helpful, please do continue to share it. Come back next week, and we are going to talk about scarcity.
Yeah. And before you go, don't forget to come to our webpage, epiceverydaynow.com, and check out our class. We've got a free one up there. That the free one's going to go away as soon as registration closes for the pay one, right?
Yep.
Come take our class with us, and let's grow together. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep. See you then.